Alright, so, been waiting to do this review for quite some time now. This is the Temon by mmvapors.com. Now, this is the first mod, and it is a mechanical mod, by Jim, the maker of the DID. And it actually does come as a package deal with the D16. Now, that is a middle-sized DID, and it is a Genesis repairable atomizer. It's a little bit bigger than the mini DID, a little bit smaller than the standard DID, but performs, in my opinion, the atomizer alone better than both the mini and the standard DID. I'll get to the atomizer a little bit more later, but so the package itself, there are two ways to order the Temon. You can get it as the full kit, which includes, you get one D16, two tubes. This is the 14500 tube. Right now I'm using a fully charged AWIMR 14500. You also get a 14650 tube, which as you can see it's actually 0.6 inches taller. You get two sets of caps, of the positive caps. That is the brass right here, and here is the stainless steel. Then you also get two buttons, and you do get the brass button, and I have switched mine around a little. I have the stainless steel locking ring on my brass button. Then you get the stainless steel button with normally has the stainless steel locking ring. I again have switched it around. Now on the Temon, it does have vent holes for safety. Has these nice 3 slits here at the bottom of the tube. It also does have some really nice understated engravings. Each one has a serial number. Mine is 05, and that does match the serial number on the D16. Then next up it has the Metal Madness Vapors logo on there, the MMV, and then it says Temon on the other side. And pronunciation-wise, little thing, most of us would say Timon, like Timon and Pumbaa, but in Greek, I guess the translation, it does mean, or it's pronounced Temon, so an emphasis on the E, and it means mine in Greek. Kind of cute little backstory there, but that's the Temon. Now, the basic kit, which you essentially get two full 14500 and 14650 mechanical tube mod, and the D16, so you get 2 mods and an atomizer for 185 euros. Now, 185 euros it's a lot of money, but it's $235 approximately. Though, mind you, you are getting 2 full mods and an atomizer, and if you were to break it down and price the D16 alone at 89 euros, which is the price of the mini DID and the D20 or the standard DID or the short DID, you basically end up paying 49 euros per mod for each of the 14 series mods. So it is definitely competitively priced with the other 14mm mods out there. I know it is actually the least expensive of the Gus G16, the GP Paps, or the GP Piccolo, and the Sturm mod. Those are all in the 50 to 60 euro range, so it's the least expensive, and in my opinion it is the most aesthetically pleasing of the lot. And under a couple of brief voltage under load tests, it has, I think, 0.5 volts under load more than the Sturm mod. I don't own a G16 or a Piccolo, but I'm sure that it outperforms those as well, and I can say that based purely on the basic construction of the button, which I will get into in a little bit. But that's the Temon. Personally, overall, really happy with it. I'll take a couple of quick drags, but so as you can see, vapor production stellar, and that is with a 14500 battery, which they do have a much lower current rating than, say, an 18650 or even an 18350. They do only have 600 milliamp hours, so battery life obviously is not going to get you, or it's not going to get me through the entire day, though I find that if I bring 2 spare batteries, I can get through the full 3 milliliter tank, and 14500, that is the exact same dimensions as a standard AA battery. So batteries really are quite small, and overall, really couldn't be happier. The entire set, really elegant looking PV. It is my go-to mod if I'm just gonna run out of the house quickly for coffee, or even to take to a party or whatever, but really sleek, slim design. Though an AWIMR 18350 has, I think, 700 or 750 mAh. No, it's 700 mAh for an 18350, whereas this is only 600. It's definitely easier to pocket 2 spare 14500s than it is to pocket 2 spare 18350s. So from that standpoint, that's a more attractive option for me at least, but that's really up to each individual user. But yeah, really happy with it. Then you can just get the single Temon tube and the D16 together as a package, so you don't get the additional tube. And that's the Temon BTO, or built to order, and that is 130 euros or $165. And forgot to mention it, but with the BTO and the full set, you can get it either in stainless steel or brass, or the caps at least. And for the tubes, they do currently only come in stainless steel. You can get them either in the high gloss polished finish, as you can see mine is, or you can get them in a satin finish. And the satin finish is a very close match to the Caravella. But yeah, so that's the basic construction. I'm going to go into detail about each individual component shortly after this, but take a couple more quick drags before I get into the specifics of it. But that's the Temon. Oof. Really good, nice, warm, satisfying vape. And my coil here, you can see that it is a 4-3 wrap of 28 gauge Canthal A. AA1 doesn't really make a difference, but with a fairly hollow, thin 400 mesh wick. I've been messing with the 500 a little bit, and I've actually found that I prefer the 400. As far as performance, I do like the added flavor and vapor production that the 500 provides, but the wicks just feel flimsy to me, and especially with the thicker wires, the 28 and 30 gauge in particular, and twisted 32s, I tend to wrap them a little bit tighter, but that's it. So that's the Temon, and now I'm going to get into the specifics of each individual component. Okay, so here is the Temon D16. And this is the repairable Genesis atomizer that comes with the Temon. As you can see, it is a perfect fit on there. Exact matching outer diameters, and for reference, it is a 16 millimeter outer diameter. And the standard DID and short DID are both 20 millimeters in outer diameter, as is the Gemini at its base, whereas the mini DID is 14 millimeters at its widest point of outer diameter. So it is a nice middle ground between the two. As you can see, it does have a matching serial number to the tube of the Temon, and mine is number 5. And then on the other end, it has the MMV, or Metal Madness Vapor logo. Also on the top cap, as you can see, is the slight choke to basically refine the flow dynamics. So within the vapor chamber, it creates that swirling effect, so the airflow passes over the wick multiple times before exiting through your mouthpiece. And on there, I do have the stock black Delrin drip tip that it comes with. And that is included in the package, and it really is perfect fit on there. I typically don't use any Delrin drip tips. I exclusively use glass and stainless steel, but this really has been one exception. I've had no intention really of changing it out for a stainless steel or glass one. Really happy with it so far. So that's the outside, and the tank, it is a 3 milliliter tank, so it is right up there with the short did. So as for the assembly, start from the bottom up. It does use a stainless steel post. As you can see, the 510 connector, and it is a native 510 device. It is built into the bottom plate, so no janky pressed in 510 cardos like the line or any nonsense like that. It is all one solid piece, so you know you're going to have a nice strong connection there. And, again, the stainless steel post. So within the top cap, really nice buttery threads there. Okay, so we have the top cap, and currently I am running a 4.3 28 gauge wrap, and ohms out to about 1.9 to 1.1 ohms, depending if it's wet or dry. Nice hollow 400 mesh wick, and that is a 3.4 millimeter wick hole, and that really is the first thing that stands out about the Atomizer to me. And for reference again, the wick hole in the mini DID is 2.8 millimeters, the wick hole in the standard DID is 3.5 millimeters, and this is a 3.4 millimeter wick hole. So considering the amount of space in the top plate, which I believe is either 14 or 15 millimeters of the total diameter, excluding the threads, that really is a massive wick hole, and I think that really speaks for the attention to space efficiency that went into designing this Atomizer, cramming such a massive wick hole relative to the size of the base plate. Really is an impressive feat, and it really does contribute just heaps to the overall performance. Though it is quite small, and you would expect a smaller wick from such a small Atomizer, it wicks unbelievably well, just as well as the standard DID. Better than the mini DID, obviously, with a slightly larger wick hole. Yeah, so that was really the first thing that jumped out at me about it. Next up, it does use stainless steel nuts, and these are the same stainless steel nuts as the mini DID, whereas the post, it is the same height as both the mini DID and the standard DID, as well as the Gemini, and it does use the same inner tube. So those parts are all interchangeable, so if you were inclined to using a brass positive post, you'd definitely be able to do so, and you could also use the brass nuts that are an optional accessory on the website for the mini DID. So you could really upgrade this to all brass if you were so inclined. Now it does use the taller ground screw, which is also knurled, and it does have the option to lock it in with a flathead screwdriver, but personally I do use the screwdriver just to get a nice firm connection. Now, the nuts are knurled, and unlike many other competing Genesis atomizers out there right now, Jim does not use any generic Chinese-sourced M2 nuts. All of the nuts are custom machined and knurled specifically for his devices, and that's one of the little touches, really, that just makes this such a standalone device in a world where there are just so many generic Genesis atomizers out there, because the basic principle, it's basically a kerosene lamp retrofitted to use PG or VG with aqueous nicotine. It's not a crazy concept that we're talking about here, so the little nuances that set one device apart from another are really what it's all about, and simplicity, ease of use, and ready availability, as well as flawless craftsmanship and just overall attention to detail here really do set this little atomizer apart from the rest. But that's all I got to say about the posts. Again, ease of use, or ease of setup. If I were to rank it at a 1 to 10, 1 being screwing a 510 onto a ego battery and 10 being your first U-wick, or just ridiculously challenging atomizer, I'd put this honestly at a 3. And mind you, that is for someone who has experience oxidizing a stainless steel mesh wick and wrapping a Genesis coil, which can be tricky at first, but with practice it really does get easy. But yeah, ease of use, really, really easy device to set up. Much easier than the Mini did, to be honest, because you do have a little bit more real estate in the top cap to work with as far as wrapping your coil. It does have the ability to use a fill screw, and the fill screw is the same screw as the ground screw. Personally, I choose to omit it, as I find that the device does wick significantly better without it, though I know that there are quite a few users out there who are having a lot of success with solid 500 mesh wicks with the fill screw still in. So rather than relying on true capillary action, I do... the theory is more of horizontal flow, really, to get the juice to the coil, but that's neither here nor there as far as the device itself. That's just a matter of personal preference. Though the one slight downside that I would say is the fill screw and the fill hole itself is quite small. So far in my few trials, a 19 gauge syringe is about as big as you're going to be able to fit in there. Because if you do, I think 16 is slightly too large. I haven't tried 17 or 18, but with the 19, it fits just well enough that there is a slight gap between the hole and the rig, so it'll fill without spouting out of the center channel of the wick. Best of any other syringe I've tried, but it's a really small little detail. Now, it definitely would not be difficult to bore that wick hole out if you were so inclined. Personally, I've chosen to keep it stock, at least for the sake of doing the review, but that's that. Really small little detail. Not a big deal at all. But yeah, that's it. And as far as the performance, honestly, I would say that it performs better than both the standard did and the Mini did. The air to empty space ratio, or whatever the case may be, with the flow dynamics and the basic functional construction, really does perform outstandingly out of the box. You know what? This has to be the only Genesis atomizer out of, I think I own about a dozen currently, that I have kept the air hole stock at its 1.2 millimeter air hole, and I have no intention of boring it out after I do the review. Really happy with the draw. Not too tight, not too loose. For most out there, if you don't own a standard DID, I would best compare it. It's a little bit looser than the Orion, but much tighter than a Zen. And even though it is, I believe, the same sized air hole as the standard DID, 1.2 millimeters, I find that the draw does feel a little bit looser, though I think that's more of a sensory thing from the vapor having less distance to travel from the coil straight to your lungs. So it does really provide for a much more satisfying vape right out of the box than really anything I've tried. But that's pretty much it. Really happy with the D16. It really is such a great little atomizer that I think it does warrant its own review, but I'm going to try and jam it all into one, but that's it. That's the D16. Alright, the first thing up is this is the top cap that's included with the Temon. Now, this is the stainless steel polish finish, but with both the stainless steel and the brass, it does have a brass positive post, as you can see in here. Now, the way it works is here, just remove the spring first, and if you see that little flathead screwdriver in there, what you do, it is a adjustable height center post. So based on the length of the positive pin in your 510 connector, you can raise or lower it, so your atomizer will be a nice flush fit on there. So I'll show you the actual contact itself. I'm just going to unscrew this here. And then also you can see on the inside of the top cap there is a nice little white, it's either Teflon or white Delrin insulator in there. So now here's the contact itself. can see on one end it does have the flathead screw. Then it is actually hollow, so you can see right here is the other end of it. Now the way it works is you thread this little brass spring in there. So what that does is, based on the height of the pin, it'll still make a good strong connection with your battery. Now typically I do avoid springs wherever possible in mechanical mods, as they stand the chance of limiting the current to the atomizer, thus reducing the electric efficiency of the device. But so far this pin system works so well that I haven't really given much thought to any of the potential voltage loss due to the spring. But yeah, really clever little system here. Really solves the adjustable center pin in a non-telescopic mod issue, as far as I'm concerned, so really happy with it overall. Now the way this works is you just get that threaded on right, and you're in. Great. So that's pretty much it for the top post. I can say that, as with all of the other threads, the threads in the 510 are flawless. The atomizers that I've all tried have all been perfect fits on there. The threads on the top cap itself, as you can see, really buttery smooth, perfect threads, no burrs or anything on there. Just overall perfect construction up here. So that's pretty much it for the top cap. Enjoy. Next up is the button. Alright, so here's the assembled Temon switch. So as you can see here, you have the black Delrin insulator, and then right here is the actual contact. And then if you can see, there is that crescent moon shaped slotted disc, and that's actually what holds the entire switch together. So after that you have the threads that it actually attaches to the housing of the mod. Then the stainless steel part right here is the locking ring. So here it is, unlocked, then locked, and then the plunger. Now to disassemble your switch, it is kind of tricky. So what you have to do is, using a flathead screwdriver, you actually pry that disc off. But before you do that, you do need to remove this little black Delrin insulator. The way you do that is, if you can see, there is a slight groove right here. Using your fingernail, you're just going to pop that off. But alright, to save time, I've already disassembled the switch, and I'm just going to show you how to assemble it. So here's the full disassembled Temon switch. From left to right, you have the Delrin insulator, then there's the actual housing, the full body of the switch, then the locking ring, then the plunger, and the actual contact itself. As you can see, it is one part, and then your spring. So, the first step to assembling it, take your black Delrin insulator right here, then the housing of the mod, or of the switch, and on the side where the threads are on the outside rather than the recessed threads, I'm going to take the insulator, just slot it right in, then give it a squeeze, and it all comes together. Okay, next up, the locking ring. Now on the locking ring, just adjacent to the knurling, you can see there are the two smooth sides, and one of them is a little bit shorter than the other, and the shorter one is what it's actually going to thread into the housing of the switch. So, just threads right on there. Okay, then the next part is the plunger. So what you do here, as you can see here, it is all one piece. Now, the brilliance of this is that there are no threads between the actual contact and the housing of the switch, so the fewer points of contact that you have between the your battery and your atomizer, the more efficiently it's going to conduct electricity, basically. So here, because the contact itself doesn't thread on to the switch, and it is actually integral to the body of the switch, you're removing one point of contact. So what you do here, slide the spring on, and the stock throw I do find is quite heavy, so I actually did cut down one of my springs. This is the stock spring here, as you can see. Okay, so that slides right on. Then on the locking ring side. Just going to pop that on. See, it works nicely. And then you're going to take that half moon disc and just slide it on and just push it on. But again, for the sake of timeliness, I'm going to leave that up to you, but it is quite easy to do. It should just pop right on, but if you need some assistance from the flathead screwdriver, that's not a bad idea either. So that's the switch. There you go.